time for KFM Hotseat. Catch the fire tonight on KFM's Hotseat. Every weekday, 7 to 8 p.m. It's hot, it's live, provocative, and digs deep into the issues. It's KFM's Hotseat. The hottest debate on all relevant topics, live on KFM's Hotseat tonight. KFM's Hotseat. Every weekday, 7 to 8 p.m. KFM's Hotseat. Only on 933 KFM.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Hot Seat. This Friday, the 10th day of May in 2024, and with me in the studio is the panel of the most experienced journalists and panelists to discuss the major events of the week. I have on my left side, on the phone, get off the phone, guys. All of you, give me your phones. Give me your phones. I have Derek Wandera, a journalist with the Monitor. I have Chefe, my grandson, one of the most brilliant human beings alive. And of course, I have another intelligent son of mine called Joel Mukisa. Gentlemen, welcome to this all-male chauvinistic show. No women allowed. Say thank you, old man. So really? Guys. Yes.
The pleasure is all ours.
Now, first of all, before we go into other important issues of this discussion, like the conflict between Museveni and the traders, let us also promote the national census. Joel, have you been counted today? Did the enumerators come to your house?
No.
Chefe?
I live in a far remote place. They were unable to reach today. However, the census is 10 days.
It's 10 days.
I have hope that they will come.
Not yet.
So how come I have not met anyone who has been counted? Anyway, my grandson, Chris Mukiza, as you have heard, I haven't found anybody who has been counted. Even the unromantic Mochiga has not been counted, even though he was disturbing me and wherever he has gone. So, but the census. You know, census in Congo and Nigeria are very complicated and politically explosive issues. In Nigeria, they have failed to do a census because every state wants to inflate its numbers, if only to have more seats in parliament, to have more resources from the federal government. But in Uganda, Joel, what do you think?
About the census?
Do you think the figures they produce are fake? They are politically driven? Because you see, if you look at the census, we are going to an election in 2026. Somebody must be strategizing which area do I have support I need to have more people there as voters.
Wouldn't that be the work when people are registering with the Electoral Commission? Wouldn't that, other than a census? Because many elections take place between the 10 years where we have the next census.
Yes, but the census at least sets the standard. Doesn't it?
I don't think it does.
So you think the Ugandan system is really transparent?
You know, I have come to think of the Ugandans, that needs a broad thinking and strategy at the top of the Ugandan state, which I see tensions within the Ugandan state. For you to assume that there's something as grand as that at the level of the Ugandan state is really to overestimate the Ugandan state.
Okay, let's underestimate it.
You gave a very good example of Nigeria, because the people in the north are Muslims and the ones in the south are Christians, and their politics, aside from ethnic contentions, also does have religious undertones to it. So the Muslims in the north hope that if the census happens, we might outnumber the Christians in the south. And the Christians in the south are worried that perhaps if the census does happen and it brings out accurate numbers, they might be outnumbered by the Muslims in the north. So both sides agree to a truce and say maybe there should be no census. And that has...
No, whenever they have a census, the results
is very inconclusive.
Yes.
Inconclusive to that effect.
Yes, Derek.
I think you asked the political question of the upcoming election and whether this census will have any impact. In my view,
do you think it can be biased in any way?
I don't think so, because I don't think Uganda is, at least for the last 3 or 4 decades, I don't think Uganda has followed demographics in the country for political.
Yeah, for political reasons. So let me give you guys numbers. What do we know? So these are figures from 2014. Central region, which is traditionally known as Buganda, is just 21,000 square kilometers. And has a population of 11.5 million. You hear that?
Yes.
You can write this down. Central region with 61,000, it's very small actually, 61,000 square kilometers, has a population of 11.5, and it's the most populous region. Then Eastern region has a geographical area of about 40,000 square kilometers, only 40,000. So it is 20,000 square kilometers less than Central. It has a population it has a population of 10.8 million, roughly 11 million. So while Buganda is 11.6, this is 10.8. So Buganda beats them by, let's say, 700,000 people. That's the east. And I will show you the political implications of these numbers. Then you have a northern region, which is the largest region in Uganda. It is 85,400 square kilometers. 85,000. But it has a population of 8.6 million. 8.6 million. And then you have western region, whose land area is smaller than central. It's 55,000 square kilometers and has a population of 10.6 million. So the largest area in Uganda is the northern region. Equally, in 2014, it had the lowest number of people. And the lowest number of people. Now, if you look at the electoral map of Uganda, you find that the way Museveni has organized his electoral coalition previously was, he would have the West and Buganda directly in his corner, and then he would contest in the East, because he had written the North off. So the North always voted for an opposition candidate, whether it's Mogero or Besigye. And then in the East, you had the two blocks. You have Busoga, which is under the 2014 population census. They are the third largest tribe. So the first are Baganda, followed by Banyankole,
Then Basoga the third.
and then Basoga the third. Then Teso are the fourth.
Wow.
So now, in 2006, Museveni lost everything in Teso. He hardly got anything from there and the whole north. But at least in Busoga and the other southern parts of Bugisu and what used to be called Bukedi,
Yes.
where the Banyole, Bagwere, Basami and Japodola, Museveni would win. So, that was the electoral map. Have two regions in your corner, force a contest in the third, which was always the east, and scatter it, ensure that Busoga and these other Bantu areas you can win. Then comes a boy called Bobby Wine in 2021, and he changes the whole electoral culture of Museveni. So what Bobby Wine did is he turned Buganda, the largest tribe, and Busoga, the third largest, away from Museveni. And now Museveni has the west and the north, and they are forcing a contest in the east where the Basoga, the third largest tribe, are what?
And
are hostile to him. And even the other areas of Banyole, Bagisu, Basamia, Bagwere, and Japodola, his position is precarious. Which means that the fourth largest tribe, the Bateso, becomes extremely important. No wonder the vice president, the speaker of parliament, the deputy chief of the army, the
Governor Bank of Uganda,
are all from there, because now Teso is what you call the place he must
hinterland.
The east is still the battleground area, but Teso is so important because the east being a battleground, without Basoga you can't win. Now, if we go into a census, are you saying that Museveni and his people are not smart enough to realize that the mathematics of the census must provide a justification where the greatest number of votes will come from?
I have a small matter of contention regarding some of those numbers, because I have looked in depth or in detail at numbers of Greater Masaka. And we noticed of the about 10 or so districts that happen to be in Greater Masaka, we still have about 13 NRM members of parliament. So the red wave was in urban areas of Greater Masaka. And Greater Masaka, as a small, you can see Masaka is a district. So when they say Greater Masaka, they add a few other districts to it.
I know.
Have up to 1 million votes from the last electoral commission figures. As Greater Masaka, they had about 1 million votes, small as it might be, and yet NRM still managed to get up to 13 members of parliament out of it. So I think that there's a bit of hair splitting. The wave was there, without any doubt. However, if you look at the nitty-gritties, to say that I am fighting over one more constituency, however small it might be, it helped NRM get maybe I won't call it a marginal loss, but it was not a loss so great. Because that wave was supposed to take away everything from them in a place as a place as hostile as Masaka. So I thought about that, and maybe that the electoral map has to be seen at a very tactical level, not at the grand strategy. Yes, I thought that has to be put into consideration.
I want to hear the view of Joel before we come to Derek Wandera.
Oh, that was the question, but you need to answer the question.
He's saying that if you look at the details of it, you look at Greater Masaka, you find that NRM has 13 MPs from Greater Masaka. And therefore, Bobby Wine within Buganda is not as a threat as we think. Of course, Buganda are only 55%
Greater Masaka,
of central Uganda.
Greater Masaka includes districts such as Sembabule, Luengo, Lyantonde, Chotera, Rakai, and
Kalungu, which are primarily, but also
NRM.
But also when you go to Uganda,
a place like Luengo has only NRM MPs apart from one, Dr. Kagabo, who is now de facto
PLU.
No, but also, if you look into the details of a place as staunch as Greater Masaka, you see that whereas the wave was significant broadly, the details of it undermine that narrative. You think about but Kalungu has the former defense minister, has the current minister of state for water, Aisha Sechindi, that's Kalungu alone, and Kalungu is maybe 15 minutes from Masaka. That's why Seung is a minority in his own place. Where he claims the wave was most significant, he's a minority in that constituency as an NUP member of parliament. I would agree with you. For example, if you stretch to areas of Luwera, Nakasongola, those places are predominantly counted as Baganda regions. Yes. Although the Baganda in such districts, in that cattle corridor, become significantly a minority of sorts. But also, commenting about how the electoral fortunes are likely to shape up in the 2026 election. Remember, NUP will not be the NUP it was in 2021. Yeah. It is now internally divided. With fractures now, because I mean, Mpuga, for all intents and purposes, will have left. And a bed No, this is not to say that Mpuga is that big, but if you look at people in Masaka district who, for example, Mpuga did not second. The woman MP from Masaka city is an independent, not an NUP candidate. So the NUP candidate lost to...
Let me tell you this. First of all, Masaka, what they call Greater Masaka, has 10 districts. Yes. These are Masaka City, Rakai, Sembabule, Lyantonde, Bokomansimbi, Kalungu, Luengo, Kyotera, Kalangala. Overall, actually, Museveni got 40%. Voter turnout was 62%. Of the 961,000 registered voters, Museveni got 40%, Bobi Wine got 55.5%. So, but if you look at certain districts, like, let me see what districts which Museveni won. Museveni won Lyantonde by 74%. Museveni won Sembabule by 56%, and Rakai by 57%.
And Luengo. And you know why Sembabule would be like that?
Luengo, yes. Museveni won it by 63%.
Yes, because Luengo has 4 NRM MPs.
Andrew, I want to take this conversation with a pinch of salt. I think you bring out the argument when you bring out these figures a little bit better, because when you look at Jinja, for instance, Busoga, I don't know how many MPs NUP has from Busoga, but Bobi Wine beat Museveni hands down in Busoga.
Yes, but Bobi Wine has only one MP outside of Buganda.
Yes,
and is, I think, from Bugisu.
That's Nambeshe.
Yes,
so for me,
he didn't get an MP.
For me,
votes. The Ginger City man who recently went PLU.
That was the mayor. Mayor. Okay. So the elections of the presidential elections for me,
everybody has joined
PLU.
No, that's when you took him in particular. You are the first one to release pictures of him.
So what my argument is that the elections of the presidential elections don't necessarily portray the support that probably parliamentary elections would look like, because we've seen over time that there are places where Besigye would beat Museveni hands down, but then he doesn't even pick an MP from there.
Those would be exceptions.
I made a mistake.
Those would be exceptions.
Bobi Wine got 56% in Luengo, Museveni 43%.
Yes, not exceptions, please. I have given you an example of Ginger. I can give you an example of I forget the district in the east.
No, but
there are many districts where
the fact that you have to forget the district, the fact that you have to go miles away from here shows that that's an exception, not the rule.
No, it's not being unexceptional. What I'm saying is factual, and we've seen it over time. The presidential elections and presidential votes do not necessarily portray parliamentary elections. I know out of Buganda, that Bobi Wine beat Museveni, but he did not pick an MP. So if we are looking at the Greater Massacre, still, the Greater Massacre, Bobi Wine won. One Museveni. But
okay,
still,
let's take another break. When we come back, we shall conclude this matter and go to other issues.
But just to be
The hottest debate on all relevant topics live on KFM's Hot Seat tonight. KFM's Hot Seat. Hot Seat. Hear the real story behind the story. Coming right at you. Only on 933 KFM.
Welcome back to this edition of the Hot Seat featuring Derek Wandera, Chefe Ayebale, and of course, Joel Mukisa. Gentlemen, let's finish this issue of votes. I was simply saying earlier that to understand a population census, it gives you an idea of electoral politics. Uganda government does not manipulate election census, and I think they don't do much to even manipulate the electoral register. So if you're a politician, this census is going to give you the right statistics. Where are your votes? Because I'll give you an example, guys, where I feel like the opposition have said that Museveni steals. They have made it the most important issue. And yet the most important issue is, how does Museveni manage to win, even without any rigging at all? If you look at Bobi Wine's greatest support base is Kampala City. Young, educated, elite Ugandans are hostile to Museveni. And it has a registered population of 1.1 million registered voters, and then you have Wakiso, surrounding Wakiso district, 1.4. Between the two of them is 2.5 million. Voter turnout here was about 42%. If you get the average of Kampala, 40%, and the Wakiso about 44%, you get an average of about 42%. So Bobi Wine gets 72% of that. If you get 72% or 40%, it's about 23% of the population of Kampala. You got 388,000 votes out of 2.5 million registered voters. You're getting a very small fraction of your support base. And in elections, there are two things. One, when you're strategizing for a campaign, you must have you have supporters, you have the indifferent, then you have the undecided, then you have opponents. The most important thing that helps people win an election is not necessarily you mobilizing your supporters, which Bobi Wine does very well. It is winning over the undecided, but also getting your supporters to show up and vote.
Yes.
Mwenda may support you, but that day has an appointment with a doctor. The other one is in a hair salon.
No, but usually election period is public holiday. Someone wants to rest.
Exactly.
but also,
so I think the opposition have been destroyed by the fact that they're so focused on Museveni's theft. Okay, if Museveni stole your votes, why do you have only 40% turning out in Bugatti? Why don't you have 90%?
Andrew, I want you to open your eyes to realities. You are going into a vote where maybe like a month before, you've been jumping over bodies on the streets of Kampala, where over 50 people were killed on the streets of Kampala in protests. That's about a month before the elections.
Wandera, let me tell you, I think people like you are a very big danger to the opposition. You see, can I tell you, Wandera, even in your life, there are so many difficulties you face. Just imagine when Museveni went to Luwero there. Assuming also the challenge he was facing, there was the Ugandan army. He was 27 men. Both had 30,000 soldiers or 40,000. There was a Tanzanian army here. Then they brought the North Koreans, the IMF, World Bank, and the British. I mean, so if you are trying to focus on your weaknesses, you will never see your opportunities. When you look at what is your strength,
but also,
okay, Museveni may have killed. Why don't you mobilize your people to show up and vote?
But also the lack of strategy from because sincerely, you've classified Museveni as a dictator, which he is, a wanton human rights abuser. So you expect around the election period that he turns to give you out, to dole out candy to you. Oh my goodness, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? No, so these are things you should.
You began to make arguments like Rumshana. Rumshana recently asked the leader of opposition in parliament that you have characterized this man as a murderer.
Yeah.
But then when he does a thing you expect him to do, you come and cry foul. But you already called and you knew what he was going to do. So why then are you surprised by his actions?
For me, I was actually commenting. One of the factors I think that the voter turnout is low is because of there are very many people who love to have their peace. It is a public holiday. They would like to remain.
Let me say this. I think why the voter turnout is low is because in terms of substance and not form, these parties remain the same and there is no difference between them. The issue, actually, when you read the NUP manifesto, it says the same thing as NRM. And voters also know that you cannot achieve these promises.
But
you give us.
I don't think voters read the manifesto.
No, they don't take that seriously. Let us go to the rhetoric. The rhetoric is the same. Voters, for example, know of the African crisis. When you promise them clean water, they know that even Museveni did. That's what is happening in Zambia. So they are aware that nothing will change. Voters are aware of the circumstances within which Uganda is, and they will not buy the fiction that you sell them.
Yeah,
Let me give you an example now. NUP's hottest selling issue is what? For the past, since elections, is that our people are arrested. There is a person who is indifferent to the people being arrested. Seriously, there's a person who is indifferent. Who's the issue of fishing around his community is most prime to them.
More pertinent
to them. There's a person who has issues with the Bugisu Cooperative Board over the prices of coffee. Those issues are not articulated for them. And when you come to them and give them the language of human rights and non-human rights abuse, they think, that's an elite issue. And why you cannot defeat Museveni, and this is, I must say this I must be choosing my words. Why you cannot clearly sell to the population of Uganda that human rights issue is because for most of them who are peasants, they see that those who have gotten in the bad hands of the state are those who challenge state power in the first place. The idea is that you have good manners, the state will know how to you. And also that distinguishes between Museveni's violence and Amin's violence. If Amin's violence was wanton, soldiers would beat you up even
this
if
one is targeted.
This one is targeted
to those who challenge the state.
And it is seasonal. Amin was continuous.
Yes.
This is only episodic.
And targeted.
So sincerely, there is no way in your change, because just look at everything NUP streets out today. There's a question of how people being arrested and things like that.
Joel, I actually don't think the 3.6 million people who voted for Bobby Wine, I don't think they voted for him because of the articulation, because of the issues that he was espousing.
No, what we are saying, how does he move out of that support base? Because that support base he has is a traditional support base of Dr. Kizza Besigye. Only now that it takes an ethnic tone. Only now that it takes an ethnic tone.
I am inclined to agree with Joel, because when you look, I actually think that, Besigye's voters did not show up for Bobby Wine. That weakened him. You see, Bobby Wine was able to take many voters within Buganda away from Museveni. But Besigye's voters in northern Uganda not show up. Northern Uganda voter turnout overall in the entire region of North, vote turnout was about 55%. And Museveni swept it. Museveni kept his voters, Besigye's voters stayed away. If you look in the West, Besigye's voters were not willing to vote for Bobby Wine. Many showed up to vote for Museveni. So Museveni voter turnout remained as high, and Museveni's percentages shifted from 68 to around about 80, 85, in some places 90.
But also Bobby Wine makes a mistake, for example, with the North, because there was so much propaganda going on in the North. And the North, whatever you want to say about it, has traditional grievances with Baganda. And those grievances have not gone. The tremors of 67 crisis are still alive with the Baganda, as well as the treatment of those people by Baganda in their golden age. Be it Lule, be it Minaisa, those tremors are still alive with them. So it is very hard for you to sell a Muganda candidate. That's why Bobby Wine must have a team of people to think, which message do you sell to the North? Because for the North, like all tribes in Uganda, I'm telling you, largely, except the Basoga, are suspicious of Baganda. Because the Baganda are the only ethnic majority. Of course, they're not like a majority of 80%, but they have huge numbers. They're the only ethnic majority in this region who have never or who rarely get the presidency. Because everyone is suspicious of them because of their victim mentality.
They are the largest, they are the only majority ethnic group in any country that treats itself as a minority.
Exactly, yes.
So they always have a grievance. Instead of trying to dominate Uganda, they have always tried to isolate themselves away from Uganda.
Exactly.
So because the Kikuyu actually tried to rule Kenya.
Yeah.
The most powerful forces up to independence in Uganda, wanted just Buganda, not the rest of Uganda. So if you are a powerful Muganda and you want support outside of Buganda, Buganda hated you. And if you are very strong in Buganda, the rest of Uganda hated you. So Buganda has produced a leader for Uganda because of that.
But also,
no Muganda leader has ever had the best outside of Buganda because they have to be introverted to Buganda for them to be supported at home, and when they're extroverted to embrace the rest of Uganda,
you lose Buganda, yeah.
And that has
huge implications now in hybrid, because look at the question of self-determination. Whenever Buganda says things of Buganda Kuntiko, like Buganda on the peak of who? You get it here? That's a very central question.
We have taken that break, and when we come back, we shall be discussing Museveni's quarrels with the traders.
KFM's Hot Seat. It's hot, it's live, provocative, and digs deep into the issues. It's KFM's Hot Seat.
933 KFM.
The hottest debate on all relevant topics, live on KFM's Hot Seat tonight. KFM's Hot Seat covers all the relevant topics every weekday, 7 to 8 p.m.
And we'll explain to you how. Welcome back to this edition of the Hot Seat, featuring a panel of the most experienced journalists and pundits discussing major events of the week. We have Derek Wandera, we have Chefe Ayebale, and my great-great-grandson, Joel Mukisa. Guys, I want us to discuss Museveni's quarrels with the traders. The traders, let me give you a preamble of what I think the issue is. Most of Uganda's traders in Chikubo there are not the most educated citizens of this country. In fact, the most successful traders don't even speak English, which is saying that they do not go beyond primary 7. That is one.
The trends are really changing.
Yes, but they are not. That is one. So they are largely moving from informal towards formal. And I believe that these things of IT and all this disturb their mind, and they don't want to be bothered by them. And two, if they do so, because people in Uganda avoid and evade taxes heavily, if you bring IFRIS and ensure that everything is receipted, once you use that system, everything you sell, you receipt it using IFRIS, it registers to URA what you have sold, and therefore
bills you VAT.
Yes. This kind of transparency, if you're a trader, you don't like it. So first, it is alien because of the nature of the technology and a significant share of the traders there given their level of education. But also two, if you've been trading informal without paying taxes, it exposes you. So they think this is a tax when it's not a tax, and the war between Museveni and between government and them is really a war of what I would say misunderstanding and an attempt to shift away from tax evasion to enforce tax compliance. I
want to disagree with you on one bit, because we know very educated people who are equally suspicious of the state when it comes to matters of commerce. So I think that the Chikubo traders had organized themselves in such a way that they did not, maybe the state, you can fail to build that road, you can fail to provide electricity, you can fail to bring all this basket of goods, but for him, for as long as his business continues to operate, and because he believes he has pulled himself.
But how does IFRIS stop the business from operating?
Because now the state is coming into his shop. The state which he left at the road, the road is poorly done in his neighborhood. He benefits nothing from the state. He had made peace with that. But now suddenly that same state is coming into his shop. Now it sees his returns, they file the returns, they tax him more, they get a piece of his. So I think that that's a suspicion towards the state.
I want to dissuade you from that opinion.
Why?
Am I allowed? First of all, Uganda government does not tax Ugandans much, because if you want to look at the tax burden, you have to look at the share of GDP that is collected in the form of taxes. In Uganda, it's about 13.
When you say that, that assumes that many Ugandans have incomes from which you can tax. Many don't.
Well, but at least we have to look at the share of GDP that is taxed. It means that for most Ugandans, if you go to a country like Norway, 47% of GDP is collected in form of taxes. In Sweden, 45%. In Uganda, it's about 13%. So really, a small share of the economy is subjected to taxes. So Ugandans cannot say that the state does not provide them services when the state's tax collection is very small. That's one. Two, if you look at Uganda's budget this financial year, total money available for spending is about 10 billion. If you divide it by 47 million Ugandans, we're likely to find
very small amount
what we call per capita spending per person of about $200. Let me ask you, the country has to provide a justice system, security, roads, bridges, education and health, and we demand so much on so little.
Yes.
This is the son of Mukasa in the village. Mukasa is a housekeeper to Chefe, earns maybe 300,000 shillings a month, and the son saying, you're not taking us for ice cream, you're not taking us to Kampala parents. This is how Ugandans complain, I can tell you. So although I have criticism of government, there are certain things government of Uganda can afford to do, and they are failing to do them because of excessive incompetence. corruption less so, but incompetence and politics. But by and large, a lot of what we demand is not affordable by our resource envelope.
I agree with
Andrew. Andrew, I think one of the things we need to put in our minds are taxes are majorly a mental thing, a mental idea. That if you do not prepare the masses,
Is that an idea that is not mental?
no. Okay.
There's a psychological component.
Okay, yeah. I think it's a psychological. It has a lot to do with psychology. That if you do not prepare me psychologically to embrace this, that you make me be part of it. That there are times, for instance, when you are taxed and you never get to know that you're taxed. But the taxes you're paying taxes and.
Today someone said the social media tax was abolished.
You get.
And then they were later informed that no. It's not that because you do. It's not. They removed OTT, but it was taken to the ISP, the internet service provider's end. So now you buy the same amount of data, but then the internet service provider adds that percentage to the charges they're going to charge you.
Implementation
and
of
no one has rioted. By the way, there was a demonstration against OTT, but when they made that small switch, no one.
And implementation of our taxes is what the problem
I wonder
is.
why government actually put it on the telecoms. Why they put it on individuals? Because
in the beginning,
in the beginning, that was I thought actually it was a smart idea in the sense of trying to make Ugandans feel like they are paying something. Because indirect taxes always mislead you. Buy a phone, do not know there is a huge tax in it.
Naturally.
But guys, let me ask you this, because I have some concerns also about the Uganda Revenue Authority. One, I saw they used the teacher Mpamire, and he did a brilliant video. I don't know, I found it on my Instagram. I don't know how I got it, or somebody sent it to me. It was very good because they were trying to use humor to promote the idea of IFRIS. But
even Uncle Mo.
Yes, but I don't know why they did not spend a lot of time doing it before implementation in order to get people sensitized about it. Because the traders I have just interviewed also said they were not sensitized. That was one. The second thing, I think that what has happened at URA, especially under the current Commissioner General John Musinguzi, he has made...
Who has performed in a very stellar manner.
Yes.
I must
one of the things I credit him for is previously Uganda Revenue Authority officials, if they called you over taxes, they called you with intimidation and threats and stuff like that. And me, I would tell them, I'm tax compliant. I am the one who came and declared to you how much I'm going to pay. You never even
looked for me. You never looked for me. How much.
Yes, my income increased. I came and declared it to you. Why are you fighting then? So I felt that me being compliant was causing was a danger. But since John came in, these days when URA people call you, they are very polite. They say, let's come to office and talk to you. They talk to you as a client with whom you have a partnership. So really, as a taxpayer these days, I feel satisfied and I feel proud of URA that they don't come with threats and intimidation, that they come to talk to me in a very civil manner and respect me as a taxpayer. They come, thank you for paying your taxes.
I just imagine with your name recognition, if they're talking to you like that. What about the person whose name and face the country?
Before, with my name recognition, as the Yoweri Museveni, the president of the country, they would send emails intimidating, threatening, hell and brimstone is going to come, and I would ask them, so why? I have not quarreled with you. Why are you beginning with a high tempo? You know what I mean? So I think that so I was surprised that the traders went to war at a time when I felt URA has become more polite and more understanding that a taxpayer is a client you need to persuade rather than an enemy you should intimidate and bully.
For a trader,
what is your experience?
For a trader who is, I think, there's a lot that has changed in the current regime at URA, and you see the language used in the emails, the calls to follow up, and things like that. Even when you visited their offices, the way you're handled, usually you'd go there and you're like a criminal. You are picked like a criminal and things like that. But for an informal sector, which is mainly at Chikubo, there needs to be, I think, this campaign that is going on now to sensitize, which they have opened, has gone way. The effects of the implementation of IFRIS has gone way ahead of this sensitization. They should have done that to prepare these people.
But efforts
just
have been
help
made.
them.
But
Initially they said EFRIS was another tax.
Yes.
URA came and clarified and said, no, EFRIS is not another tax. It's a mechanism
it's a
to remit
mechanism.
VAT.
Yes.
Then they said
Let me
that
tell
VAT
you.
is already paid at the point of the manufacturer. Then these people explained that, no, you can continue to deduct that VAT until the last person posts a tax paid by the consumer. So everyone pays their bit from the whole
You
from
have
the
input
manufacturer.
VAT, then you have output VAT. You see, if you paid 18%,
That
VAT
effort was
on this. If I sell it to him, the price at which you say you add their VAT. So remember, there's the input, the VAT you had put in.
Yes.
You deduct that,
yes.
and then transfer the other balance
To
which
him.
you added, when you're selling to him. So really, I think that anyway, what I'm cautious about is that if you are a trader, it's very likely they've been avoiding taxes, evading taxes. They've not been paying.
That's what I think.
When you bring EFRIS, why you have to receipt everything, because you have to receive everything. Then all of a sudden you realize that you have been making huge profits and not paying your taxes. Now you have to pay taxes. So they are complaining and they know they're wrong.
But also
but
recently, the most popular
they-
phrase has been widen the tax base. Now the tax base has been widened. Now people are running away. They're walking away.
No, they are saying we are the same people who have been taxed before, and the
But they are
government.
the people who have been paying
they are
more taxes.
misunderstanding. You see, if you pay taxes at the border when you import things, you pay VAT. So you pay VAT. That is your input VAT. When you sell in your shop,
You deduct it.
you should add the VAT, because remember, if you import this shop, if you buy this phone for $100, there is VAT of 18% you pay. So it is 118. You go to your shop and sell it for 150. So you must add 18% on that 150. But that 18 shillings you already paid.
Yeah.
You get it. You deduct it because you only transfer it. The final consumer is the one who will pay.
Final payer of
The
that
final
VAT.
payer. You as a business person are just a tax collection agency really for VAT. The burden does not fall on you. The only VAT in Uganda that they oppose is the VAT on the sale of houses. I think it is the most unfair tax in the history of unfair taxes.
Because of your interest in real estate?
Not
Because that's
necessarily-
what Chukwuopa are saying. They're saying we also have interests in imports.
No.
So why is there VAT being
let me
imposed
show
on
you.
imports?
Let me show you how the VAT works. Assuming I bought a house somewhere in Ntinda for 1 billion shillings. My business is to buy and sell houses. That's all my trade. And I want you to do with the mathematics. My trade is I buy and sell houses. That's my business. I'm a real estate dealer. I buy a house for 1 billion. I sell it for 1.2 billion. So I have made a profit of 200 million. We call it capital gain, right?
Yeah.
On that 1.2 billion, they will charge me VAT of 18% on 1.2 billion, which is 214 million. So I'm already in a loss. Have you seen it? Then they will charge me another tax called capital gains tax, 30% of the 200 million. That's 60 million. It's now 274 million. Then the one buying has to withhold 6% of 1.2 billion. That is 12.6. That's about 96 million. Yes, about 96 million. So essentially, you find that the total taxes is 278. I used 1 billion when I was trading, so now I am remaining with 850 million. So the very tax system means that you cannot
make a profit.
You cannot make a business where your business purely is to buy and sell houses. How can you create a tax system, a tax policy that makes
bans an entire
trading
business?
Yes, this of VAT you can still make your profit because the VAT is not. I honestly, Moses Kagwa at Ministry of Finance, you are the best guy in tax policy in Uganda that I know. Please, can you find a way to end this nonsense in this budget? It's absurd. We'll read it back. It's absurd. I can't understand it.
KFM's Hot Seat. It's hot, it's live, provocative, and digs deep into the issues. It's KFM's Hot Seat. KFM's Hot Seat. Hot Seat. Hear the real story behind the story. Coming right at you. Only on 933 KFM.
Welcome back to this last segment of this edition of the Hot Seat, featuring a panel of the most experienced journalists and panelists to discuss the major events of the week. And now we are discussing, of course, Museveni's quarrel with the traders. So the traders have vowed to continue the strike. Museveni has said, you don't intimidate me. Did you watch the... What did you make of it, Joel? For the first time, I saw people really challenging Museveni. And Museveni also warning them not to intimidate him. I had never seen him say someone is trying to intimidate him.
I thought that was a very good show like an exhibition of his democratic credentials, because suddenly everyone had the confidence that they could say what they wanted to say and get
possibly
away.
because it was the traders who don't eat from his palm.
Yeah.
As his ministers and other government officials.
It would be a different case.
No, but also there's been this father figure character of someone who can be challenged and things like that. But also I believe that this, what you can term as, I mean, how do you call it? Arrogance, whatever the word. Maybe arrogance is not the right word of the traders, and them looking him straight in, outspoken, looking him straight in the whites and telling him, giving him a piece of their mind. I think it's also partly M70 creation, because these traders are being supported by M70 policies of neoliberal policies, because you cannot have a serious manufacturing base in Uganda because you don't have development banks to fund that. The only banks you have here are commercial banks, and commercial banks can basically mostly work with traders. So this base of traders that has been grown in conflict with that which has been feeding them for a very long time, and that's maybe the base of their entitlement.
Maybe most of them get their loans from the bank which bought Uganda Commercial Bank.
Exactly, because it's the biggest bank in Uganda. But also the implications politically, when you saw all the traders speak, some of them would end with Sabasaja Wangare. I don't know, in the presence of the president. In the presence of the president. Yes, what would that mean? Are we mobilizing? Are they going to mobilize out of the state? Are they going to mobilize? Because majority of Chukubo is usually Baganda. It's a Baganda business class. I mean, other tribes are joining, but by and large, it's a Baganda business class. What implications does that have for you? Because these are people. I don't know whether they fund these campaigns, but they're now, the way they are speaking now, they're saying maybe they could lobby, they could be funding another candidate.
No, but I'm thinking also the traders need to accept and not overplay their hand, because someone was asking, if you strike for 2 months, is the landlord also going to suspend the rent of your shop in Chukubo? Because
the landlord is a trader as well.
You might be 20,000. You might be 20,000 traders. You might be 20,000 traders, but there are 500 landlords. As a head of state, it is easier to mobilize 500 as opposed to you, the 20,000.
No. When this whole thing was starting, remember, the president first met with the leaders, the so-called leaders of the traders. And
but Kasita has had a perennial leader.
Yeah, what came out was those people you met do not actually represent us. And this is how this.
What came out was because the statutory. No. The statutories spoke with a unified voice, and they displayed that. No, the statutories are the leaders.
I mean the traders.
No, the traders were just suspicious. They did not clearly say that these people were not represented. No. But I want us to we're getting lost in the forest of facts, and I'm not a very fact-based person. I want us to abstract a bit.
You're a lie-based person?
For me, I feel the traders had every mandate to put out whatever they were chasing.
No, like everyone else. But
I don't think playing an ethnic group, an ethnic card here from Joel is really important. But I think
Eric, what I felt is I want to know when I watched them. I want to know what exactly was their grievance.
No, their grievance is here because now they've been told finally, if this is not a tax, okay, it's not a tax, but we feel like we're taxed so much. What they don't say is that. What they don't say is something that you began discussing here with Chef. What they say that now you'll be coming from my profits, because previously I was not paying VAT.
Yes, I was not remitting that VAT. That VAT was my profit.
Was my profit.
Now you are into my profit. That's what the core issue was. Because one of them even suggested and said, no, we know IFRIS is good, but let it stay at the manufacturer. Let VAT be paid once when the goods are leaving the manufacturer. Or we pay VAT once. We cannot pay VAT at the retail level, because they explained the dynamics and the challenges that happen at the retail level. 15 people are renting one shop. If one person comes and if I come to Joel's shop and I borrow a flask and I sell it from my place, he is going to be charged VAT. I am going to be charged VAT on the same commodity because I simply got part of
the nature of the shop. You know, IFRIS is a very formal system for this very informal settlement.
Very informal
in town. You find a shop
that
like
grievance
this.
Was very justified.
The so-called Guiriba. You get a commodity from. I come to your shop and say, Andrew, I want an iPhone. You say,
pay for it.
You say you want an iPhone. Which iPhone? 15 Pro Max. Okay. I run to Chef's shop,
I pick
get the phone, sell it to you, and then
take my cut, small cut,
take my small
I give
cut,
Chef
and then
back
I give Chef
his money.
And now
Efris is going to charge me VAT.
And then me.
He's going to charge
actually,
him
it wouldn't.
VAT.
No, you see what you do. If I come and buy it from you and I want to sell it to Joel, you can issue me a receipt with the whatever. I go to Joel. I don't need Joel to issue me a receipt. If Joel is not issuing me a receipt, because me, I'm just a wheeler dealer on the road, then you pay the VAT.
The other concern was...
I'm sure the technicalities iron themselves out. But the idea that there is a big eye...
No, but also the other thing is...
Because
the idea was...
I have sometimes wanted a phone. I have a guy I use. He goes to a shop and buys the phone. When he comes to sell it to me, I'm sure he adds his
profit.
He's a profit. And me, I don't want to go downtown and all this and waste my time. So I'm willing to pay that profit of his. Because he doesn't issue me a receipt. He may have gotten a receipt from you, right?
He doesn't have to.
But he doesn't have to issue me a receipt. He can even bring me directly your receipt. In the middle, he adds a commission agent. So you traders, let me give you advice. If you're just...
this is so whatever view.
Yes, because you see, because that I understand. If I don't have a shop, I just want to pick...
that was one of the minor issues. The other issue was that if Risk Council will have about 150 million...
you have to be VAT what?
VAT registered.
VAT registered.
No, but also these
that
people...
is a condition for people who have a turnover of about 150 million.
No, but that's about 12 million shillings per month.
Okay.
Of revenue.
And I'm sure everyone in Chikuwa meets that criteria because the rent is almost 3/4 of that.
And I personally think that the government of Uganda right now has so many expenditure obligations on its desk.
Yes, there's a fiscal crunch.
Yes, and it has very limited fiscal space. Therefore, it should be able to collect the taxes due to it. The government of Uganda, I don't think, even collects 70% of the taxes due to it.
But also, because of being an informal sector economy mostly, but also what are the optics? Because
even within the informal sector economy, I'm telling you, Uganda can perform better. Uganda has a very low ratio of tax collection to GDP compared to all her neighbors, except South Sudan and Congo, of course, and Burundi.
Where the state is literally not present. So, what?
Guys, did you also know that the effectiveness in tax collection in economics is used as a proxy for state effectiveness?
Yeah,
that's true.
You can
the efficiency with which the state is
based off how much it collects
in taxes
in relation to
yes, exactly.
Yeah, of course.
So if you
because URA has no guns, by the time URA can tax you, it means that there's a gun behind.
Yes. So in this sense, I think that I would encourage Uganda Revenue Authority. Okay, the traders also had some grievance. I'm sure that there's some URA officials who may have gone to the traders and acted rudely.
There was even a penalty. There was even a penalty of 6 million per whatever.
No, but I think that's. I think what we've not discussed here is what are the political implications for this group created by Museveni, always pampered by him. Because when Museveni spoke in Nairobi at that IDA summit, he was a new person and he seemed to be against people like traders.
Yeah,
this petit bourgeois.
Look for money for his manufacturers. So his biggest enemy right now is a trader who brings in more imports.
Who brings it because at an ideological level. Well, yeah. Because, but also more disheartening is, for example, that you find that FDC NUP are regurgitating those empty platitudes. Yeah, there are too many taxes. Anita Monk is spending them how she wants and things like that. Of course, the optics of the government are bad. Help spending money. No. But also the idea that you don't have a political party that can articulate these questions. You don't have a serious trade union, Mr. Secretary.
But now we have a limited liability company called limited by guarantee called PLU. Who will be articulating these issues.
No. Who is your Secretary General?
Who is your Secretary General?
Hey, and he not know. Commander. David Commander is Secretary General.
David Commander.
General Secretary. We elected him at the last plenum of the Central Committee.
Oh, are you the CCM? No, the Chinese Communist Party.
No, we are the PLU of Uganda. We have a Central Committee, and normally we have a plenum.
How do we get to PLU from traders?
No, that it's a vanguard party that is going to help Uganda
articulate the grievances.
The principal since abandoned.
Just to conclude this show, I want to say that if Uganda government makes a choice, and which is a right choice, that it must promote manufacturing, it will inevitably have a conflict with the traders, because the manufacturer and the trader are always at conflict. The only way you can promote domestic manufacturing is by reducing
stifling
the traders. So I am going to produce these tables. Those guys who operate, I'm going to tax you heavily in order to discourage you from turning Uganda into a supermarket for Chinese goods. Right? So Museveni must understand, and I think he also understands that now he's moving away from his previous alliance with the traders into an alliance with the manufacturers.
But there's very few manufacturers. How will he sustain that political base, especially as he ages in the presidency?
Expand them.
Yeah.
How? In how many years?
Okay, we shall discuss that next week when we come back. Good evening for our listeners, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
The hottest debate on all relevant topics live on KFM's Hot Seat tonight.